Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. I was just sitting here at the computer working away and I looked and it was 11:29 Eastern Standard Time. Wow, I got to pay attention to what I'm doing more. Good morning. Happy beginning to our week. I hope it's going to be a good one. Lots of friends on now. Donna is there from Alberta. Tad is there. Doreen from upstate New York. Jennifer's there. Good morning back to you. Mom, you're there. I thought you were out with your buddies this morning. I thought you'd have to watch the replay. Penny, good morning. Catherine, good morning from Arizona. Joelle is there. Good morning. Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, Anita. Oh, it sounds like a lot of people are having lovely days. That's nice. It's nice to get the good weather on a Monday. It's in terms of mental capacity, it gives you a little more space to face a Monday. A Monday's a Monday after all, no matter how happy or how inspiring it is. It's still a Monday, but it's a good one today. Good morning, Jennifer. Good morning, Karen in Stratford. I keep thinking about Stratford. You know why? I'm pulled to go back and grab a few more things. Good morning, Teresa and Amber. Good morning, Carol and Olivia's there. Did I say good morning to April? Good morning, everybody. I'll keep an eye on who's there, who turns up. So busy weekend. It was a nice, bright weekend. It was a busy weekend. I was working on a lot of projects. Brenda, this is for you. I was busier than a moth in a sweater closet. Now, I know that makes us all feel very uncomfortable. That's probably not the right one for us, but it's one of the ones that's not naughty that I can still say. On course. Oh, okay. Beverly, good morning. Donna, good morning. Eileen, first time you caught me live. Great. Oh, good. This is going to be my favorite episode. I think we had a great week last week. Good morning, Marie. I think that's Marie. Marie, is that you? MJC? I think we had a great week last week. I loved getting involved in the crossover between fine artists who then hooked. It was exciting. Good morning, Crystal. It was exciting, and I'm finding some more. I'm digging deep. It's a hard thing to research. It's a real particular. It's like a wrinkle in time. It's a wrinkle in art. It's hard to research. It's like you have to go backwards to forwards, like a butterfly effect, because you can't just type into the internet rug hooking and fine artists because not much comes up. But Melinda, good morning, Melinda. Sometimes Marie logs on with 3 initials as well that begin with an M, so I get confused. Good morning, Melinda. But I think it was a great week last week, and I loved on Friday on cocktail night ending with Emily Carr. There's so much more to Emily Carr, and going there is like haunting me. And going to Canada, going to the museum in Ontario, all of that has to wait for just a little while because of the way life is right now. But I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to reading more. But in the meantime, the business of life. Good morning, Shelley. Good morning, Linda B. Everything else is chugging along. And my subject today is going to be my favorite person in hooking ever. But I have to say, yesterday was my mom's birthday, as most of you know, and we had a wonderful time. I wasn't able to show you my present for her, which I did not finish, but I almost finished. It's this rug. And the reason I did it was because she drew it onto backing like almost a year ago. And we tried hooking it and we got going and stuff, but it just wasn't happening. And it was kind of languishing. And I felt bad because I thought it was a great drawing. And the reason she drew it was because years ago, I was born in the Netherlands and she lived in the Netherlands with my dad, and that's where I was born. So that part makes sense, right? So I ended up moving back to the Netherlands and having the family over there and the kids over there. We lived there for years. And while we were there, we occasionally rode to this village on our bikes called Mauda, and it has a little castle. And there were some beautiful galleries and gift shops in the town, very unique, very small, typical European village. And I bought this little statue. And you can see there's something of a resemblance. I bought this statue, and my mom's a big painter and watercolorist. She loves to put things into still life composition. She's got beautiful still lifes all over the place. So she drew this character that she called the Mauda Maiden onto this backing. And it was just sitting there for a while. And I thought, you know what? Let me surprise her by finishing it. But the thing was, I could only find one of the bags of strips. I'm afraid she's going to fall. One of the bags of strips that she cut up for it. And I couldn't remember what the other colors were supposed to be. So I did the greens the way that she wanted them, and I just went and struck out on my own with all the other colors. So let me show you. Good morning, Julie. Hey, Crystal. Thank you. Yeah, I really like it, I have to say. It's the greens are all my mom's choice, and this gold here is sari silk, right? All those ribbony golds up in the border are sari silk. I wanted it to look something like an kind of an illumination, or that kind of format. I'm gonna stretch this border, of course, right around the top, and it's gonna have. Thanks, Olivia. Thanks, Doreen. It's gonna have like squares around. But right now, I did kind of a stained glass background. I was thinking about what we were saying so much about Victorian women, the sort of beginning of rug hooking, how, people would decorate their homes in the style, sort of biblical style of Eden, make like a Eden at home. And it got me thinking about Eden and gardens and stained glass windows. And I ended up using the green to do this background that was something like a stained glass window. It also reminds me of that great book and movie, Enchanted April, where one of the main characters is described when they go stay with this man in Italy, and like this home that's like a pensione, it's like a giant, giant, giant house, beautiful place. And he describes her as a disappointed Madonna. She has this sort of middle-aged look of being a bit disappointed, but still beautiful. And as I was hooking this, it made me think of that. Although it is based on that little character up there, it made me think of that. So I was real happy with the way it turned out. And hello, Heather. That's how it reads, like a stained glass window. That's what I thought. I never know if I'm making good decisions, but I like it, and it's nice and bright. I hooked the face in like fives, no, fours, I think, and I did the rest of it in eights because I was trying to hurry it up. Time is a thing, but I think it was good. And we had such a nice thank you. We had such a nice meal at this cute Asian bistro in Windsor, Connecticut. I think it's called the Windsor Asian Bistro on Peconicut Road. And it was very nice. We were the only ones in there, and it was very nice having sushi rolls and a pistachio martini. And my sister had a Blue Lagoon. I forget what my mom had, something with pineapple. Very nice. And then we had one of those sake flights. So you get like like 4 or 5 different flavors of sake. And I didn't know there were so many, but it was such a fun time. And I think she had a great birthday. So happy belated birthday. We celebrated big. And now there's nothing I can cook today that is going to compare at all with what I ate yesterday. So I'm bound for disappointment. But we had a great day. And this is the Mauda Maiden that I'll finish soon and I'll post somewhere. So today, I want to go back to our talk about, thanks, Linda. I can't stay away from color. I keep wanting to do something out of my comfort zone, which would mean using less color. And then when I get there, I just feel like there's just not enough pop and punch. I ended up putting like really bright colors into her feather, and that's not really the colors that she is. It doesn't have to be, but it's hard, when you're so used to doing something. It's like there's always this fine line between doing it your way and continuing with your style, or trying something different and trying to grow. And I'm not sure that those two things don't overlap like train tracks crossing, right? As you go through life, I'm not sure that they don't. So when I feel the push to go back and do something crazy and colorful rather than stay green, I think just do it. I'm gonna just do it, because sooner or later I will grow maybe in a different direction. But experimenting with different color palettes for me probably won't be it, because I'm just colorful all the time. Not so much today, but I had to wear my uniform again. So today I want to continue talking about fine artists who also were rug hookers. And today is my favorite. This is going to be more than a one-parter. I want to talk about Nye Tobey, who's my favorite, and I am working on a book about her. I've been working for a while on it, and it's slow going, man. It's slow going, but I'm going to start here. We'll see how far we get. I'm going to start talking about her life and showing you some of her work. She's just exceptional, and the reason that I'm so kind of passionate and crazy about her is because she died in 1983. Is because my hometown is where she lived. Barrington, Rhode Island is where I grew up, and 70s and 80s, and that's where she was living for many years. She lived in Ohio for a very short time, but she lived most of her life by far in Barrington, Rhode Island. So it's like super close to the heart for me, and it means somehow recovering her life story. And her rugs have gone to auction in recent years and scattered like a necklace of pearls snapping, falling to the ground. And as you try to collect them all, they just roll in different directions. that's how I feel trying to find her work and her rugs, because stuff sold for quite low and it just scattered, and it's a bit nerve wracking because it is a really solid and important catalog of work. So I'm going to start by showing, hello, Patrice. That's okay. Better late than never. You are super welcome. I'm going to start by showing you a picture of her. It's not in great focus, but this is a picture off the back of a poster that I have. I'll show you the poster later or tomorrow. It's from the Shelburne Museum. There are some rare copies right now on eBay. It's the poster of the 50 state rugs. I'm going to come into this in great detail, but there's usually no copies of it. And it was routinely selling at auction, like an auction house is the poster from the exhibit at the Shelburne Museum, for like 50, 60, 70, that kind of thing. And it's on eBay now for in the 30s. This was on the back of the rug, the black and white photo of her. Just look at the size of the rug she's working. This is at home in Barrington. It's very hard to see her. It's a black and white photo. It's very hard to find photos of her. I was searching for a couple of publications that I have that I know she's in because I read the articles. And one of them was Piecework. Couldn't find it. And the other one was Spinner, which is a regional, I think, a mostly New England magazine. Couldn't find it. And I was reminded, particularly with hanging out with the family this weekend, my mom and my sister, I was reminded of the fact that I can't find anything. And this is just an ongoing thing in my life. I am so disorganized right now and scattered. I can't find anything. And it reminded me of when we were growing up, how my mother, when my sister and I were quite small, would sing certain songs very sarcastically that were like, we called them the soundtrack to our lives. And we would get super triggered as kids when she would sing them. And her songs were like one of the big ones. We called it like the greatest hits, the golden hits of Mom. Sorry, Mom. But one of them was Carly Simon, I Haven't Got Time for the Pain. And the other one was the country and western song, One Day at a Time, Sweet Jesus. And they were both sung constantly in the house. And I could never relate to it. And I thought, I'm never going to be like that. And now my number one golden, on my top 10, like the golden hits, the prime years, my number one is the U2 song, I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, followed closely by my second hit, which is If I Only Had a Brain. And I seem to sing those two songs constantly, driving my own children crazy, but I can't find anything. And I couldn't find those two magazines. And I have them, so I'm not rebuying them. But when I find them, there'll be another part to this because they were full of interesting information and they had photos of her that are not online. So this was the only photo that I have. Maybe you guys do that too. It's just part of being crazy, I guess, but it does help. So the way that I got involved with Molly and Nye Tobey was not in researching fine artists who also hooked. It was last summer, I think it was last summer, Mom, that we went to Maine. We always give each other gifts of classes, right? This is before all the craziness started. And it was like maybe we went in maybe July, August, something like that, to Kennebunkport, because I gave her a gift either for Mother's Day or her birthday, taking this class in German paper cutting. I know I've talked about this, but it was at this beautiful inn in Kennebunkport. So we went up and we stayed over and we ate and drank and we took this great class. And it was very helpful for me in working on design and rug hooking designs. I've used that class a lot, the knowledge from it. But when we were there, the inn where we were staying had this rug. I'm going to fold the paper so I don't do foreshadowing on the floor. It's very pastel. Beautiful floral rug. And I asked the woman, she said to me, because I mentioned that I did rug hooking, and she said, I bought this at an auction. I since then found the online auction. And she said, it's by this woman. She couldn't quite remember her name. And we figured out, looking at the rug, that it was Molly Nye Tobey. I figured it out afterward when I got home, and I found the auction, and I sent her some information on Molly that I could find. And she was really proud of this rug because she loves it. So I know where this rug is because I walked across it. But it got me going. And when I pulled up Molly Nye Tobey and found that she was from my hometown, right, that I haven't lived in since I was in high school, and now I'm 48, so more than 30 years, it's still like my favorite place in the world. And I couldn't believe that she was there. And when I realized that our lives must have crossed, whether it was at like the Strawberry Festival or the Church Bazaar or whatever, we must have crossed. It's not a huge town. She died, in the early 80s, but I'd already been there for over a decade. And it's just interesting to think that she was there doing this while I was there too, being a little kid and figuring out art and what I was into. Shame I wasn't into rug hooking. So I ended up trying to research her, and it's hard. It's very, very hard. She's been gone for quite a few years. Her husband's been gone. I think all of her sons have passed away since. The grandsons are have moved, are very hard to track. I've got some really good leads. I've got a lot of subscriptions going to online genealogies and stuff, so I can try to find people. I'm having trouble finding the one who was in touch with me. I'm having trouble getting back in touch with him. So it's been very uphill. So I went, I guess at the end of last year, I drove over because I'm in Connecticut now. I drove to Rhode Island for the day to see what I could find out. And I went to the Preservation Society. Now, this also crosses with our project right now of working on rugs about local history, right? So many people have been emailing me. I want to do a rug. I'm going to do it on this subject. Tell me what sizes are okay. Every size is okay. Tell me what colors are okay. Every color is okay. Tell me what subject is okay. Any subject is okay. People, events, places, memories, your history. So in this way, I'm chasing my history through Barrington, where I grew up. And again, it crosses over with this project. And this is a good way to research, starting with local historical and preservation societies. So I went to the Preservation Society that was in the basement of the building that used to be our library in town. This huge, huge, hulking, most beautiful building I've ever seen. Very, very sort of late Victorian cottage looking, but overgrown boulders like field stones, on the outside. It's absolutely beautiful. It was our library when we lived there and I was little. Now they have a new library next door that's like, apples and oranges. But the Preservation Society was in the basement, and I went down. They had a folder on Molly that didn't have anything different than what I'd already gotten from magazines off eBay. So that was a little disappointing, but they had one of her rugs that they had just taken off of display. And I probably shouldn't say this on camera, but I was able to get the woman who was working there, the volunteer, to show me the rug. And I was extremely careful. And it was a good thing because it was rolled not the right way. So I re-rolled it really, really carefully. But this was the one rug that they had at the Preservation Society. Hey, Carol. Finally had a brain. Exactly. That's where it comes from, that song. So this is the one that I took a picture of. I'm sorry, I cut it off. I forget what it says. It's got to be the name of the boat. I have a better photo, but I took this photo. I was taking it quick and my hands were shaking because I was afraid we were going to get in trouble. But I had driven all the way down there and there was one rug and I just had to see it. And this was it. And my photo was really good. It's never good to show you things online, but the color variation, the style was so different. This is not a typical subject for her, but this is the one rug that they had. So I left a little bit disappointed, and then I tried to, I knew where her house was, so I tried to drive down there, and unfortunately there was a golf tournament that day, and all the roads were closed that were like headed, she lived on the main road, Rumstick, which is like the fancy road in town along the water, and it was just closed. So that was unlucky. And I've been through since, but always with children, so there hasn't been a good time since then. So I've been researching her like crazy ever since. And a lot of her art has turned up at auction lately, and her hooked rugs. It's gone for a song, which makes me super sad. I just want to show you an example of two of her still lifes. And then I'm going to tell you about her life, because she, what did I do with the story of her life here? Oh boy, I hope I didn't screw this up in the wrong order. She had, I meant to tell you the years of her life first, 1893 to 1984. So she died at 91. Yeah, I screwed up the order. That's all right. We're going to make it work, right? Because she had such an interesting life is an understatement. But these are two examples of her still lives. Very different. She, like the other women we were talking about last week, Marguerite, Emily, and Blanche, very inspired by modernist painters, Post-Impressionists, Fauvist painters, different. This one is a bit more traditional, but there's a lot. These are just paintings, not hooked rugs. There's a lot of her paintings that you can see online. Unfortunately, they so often want to sell you a subscription to something so you can just see the piece of art that has been sold that, should be part of our shared history, that we can at least look at it with our eyes, if not touch it or own it. So let me see. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit discombobulated. I wrote down some stuff and I wanted to tell you some stuff about her life. Let me do it here. I have it on my phone. I'm going to add a lot to this too, but she was born in 1893 in New Bedford, Mass., which was a huge whaling community, right? That was just after the golden age of whaling, lots of factories. It's right next to Fall River, where Lizzie Borden is from. Very different now, but beautiful old town with like stone streets, cobblestone streets, that kind of thing up on a hill. So she lived there on her family farm, and she attended local schools. This is on the back of the poster from the Shelburne Museum. Shelburne Museum. She attended local schools, and in 1918 she entered RISD, which is the Rhode Island School of Design in Providence. It's considered one of the two best art schools in the country, along with Savannah. And even then, it was an amazingly good school and remarkable for women to be able to get in there. So she went to RISD at that early time, and she graduated in 1915. And she then applied, and I actually wrote to RISD when I found this out, like 9 months ago, something like that. And they sent me photos, of her, of all the documents they had for her, like her graduation. They sent a photo, and they sent a class list. So that can help me with research in the future, figuring out who her contemporaries were, what they did in terms of galleries and stuff. And it might help me, again, local history, researching newspapers, whether it's on microfiche or whatever, getting stories of places that she might have been, people she might have known that cross over into our story in the book that I'm working on. So after she graduated from RISD, she, in 1915, applied to the New Bedford Textile School, and she was admitted to the program only after agreeing not to talk to any of the male students. And I was also told that she was the first female graduate of the school, which again is remarkable. So upon graduation, she became a designer for the Manfield Textile Company in Rhode Island. This was a great job for her to land, especially as a woman. And this is a quote from her. "The commercialism gave me no satisfaction, just grinding out new patterns every 6 months. And so I left to devote all my time to creating hooked rugs." She later described the satisfaction that rug hooking gave her by saying, "The making of one's own rugs gives so much pleasure. Hooking is soothing. As I hook, ideas for new rugs, pictures to paint, ways to entertain both my friends and clubs come into my mind. My 3 sons all hooked when they were little boys, and maybe they will again when they're settled old men. I suppose I came by this interest and ability naturally. My grandmothers on both sides made rugs. One made hooked rugs, the other made applique felt rugs." So this is her early days here. And what did Heather say? If the town has a Facebook group, they do. That's a really good one. That's where I started going on the local Facebook page in the town. And then I got referred to the Preservation Society. And I got in touch with a couple of her friends who are still alive, who were a little bit younger, of course. And one of them, I have a letter from her right here. She's been writing back and forth with me for quite a few months. And I've been getting really unique information about Molly. So I want to share some of that now. And again, this is going to be at least a 2-part episode, at least. But this woman I've been writing with is named Julia. I'm not sure of her age, but she wrote back to me, and I'm paraphrasing her note to me. She says, "I'm happy to tell you anything about Molly Tobey, although she was already in her late 80s or early 90s when I knew her." And she died at 92, she says. I think it was 91, but I'm not sure. We visited her house several times because she was an incredible gardener, and she gave us lots of her plants, boxwood cuttings, sweet woodruff, and numerous wildflowers. Her garden was a real English garden. She and her husband had their house built at the intersection of Rumstick Point and Chacapacasset. A lot of Indian names in Rhode Island. The Tobeys belonged to, I asked her about church and what civic organizations Molly might have belonged to, because I thought that might be a good lead. She said, the Tobeys belonged to the Barrington Congregational Church, but they weren't particularly active. I think she was active in organizations like the Handicraft Club of Providence, who I wrote to this morning, because I kind of forgot about that lead. So I wrote them this morning to find out if there's anything there I can know. She grew up in New Bedford, near where Alan Haskell had his famous nursery. Some of you might know that. I didn't know that off the top of my head. She had lots of interesting plants, as well as lots of input in the building of the house that she designed and the gardens. And she opened her gardens to the public whenever the Barrington Garden Club had its garden tours. She also wrote in one of the other emails that, very unusual for that time, that Molly designed the house, and she designed it before she and her husband married. And she always referred to the house as their illegitimate house because they had it before the marriage was in place, which I thought was interesting. She was very modern. So she said, as well as hooking rugs, she did beautiful smocking, made lots of things for her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She also did lots of watercolor painting, picking flowers from her garden and bringing them inside to paint. She sent me some pictures of paintings that she owns that Molly gave to her that are just like on a white background. I can show you those tomorrow maybe. And some are online, not Julia's. of just studies of watercolors. Can you shut the door, honey? I'm doing a live video.
Oh,
Sorry.
I can't reach.
She can't reach. Sorry about the noise of tinkling. It is musical after all. She did lots of watercolor painting, bringing flowers inside and painting them. She also was quite a good cook and invited people for tea and cake or cookies. Many of her recipes were the kind handed down for generations. And I remember she gave me a recipe for tutti frutti, which she made by fermenting fruit and sugar. She was a woman with strong opinions and a great sense of humor. And she was always busy working on some kind of art project or craft. She had one plant called the night blooming cereus that was a succulent that blooms one night a year. And on that night that it bloomed, she invited all of the neighbors in for a dark and light cake, tutti frutti, and other desserts with coffee and tea. The plant was huge and ugly, but the blooms were enormous, and the plant would twitch as it opened. The scent was almost too powerful. At the end of the evening, she broke off a branch and gave it to us with the proviso that we had to have party for the neighbors whenever ours bloomed. It was so ugly and took up so much space, I finally gave it away to another neighbor. But her son Joel also had a plant, and he gave a cutting of it to my husband. So we still have this ungainly plant, and it usually blooms in the evening in the middle of the summer. Hold on one second, Joss. And I want to show you this rug because what a great insight to her life, right? I was, and now we are the only people besides Julia who have this story that Julia sent. So, it's just fantastic to be able to find people who knew her and be in touch because these stories, have you ever gone to a party with a once a year night blooming plant with drinks and tutti frutti and dark and light cake? I've never been to a party like that in my life. I would love to go. She does sound magical, Jennifer. She sounds amazing. It sounds like she had so many ideas. I just want to know more about her. But this rug is Searsport. They have a beautiful website, and I shop a lot from them. I always get their monk's cloth for punching and hooking. And they have beautiful linen too, and lots of supplies. Searsport. It's a great site. But they posted this, and somebody apparently found this Barrington rug by Molly in one of the came up in one of the Venice Fort Myers groups in Florida. Somebody found it at a Goodwill. So that just makes me feel sick. That really makes me feel, not that I begrudge that person. I can't, that just makes me feel sick. This is her Barrington rug of her house, right? What I wouldn't give for this rug. That's the house that she designed with her husband. I know it's a little out of focus. I can never really get this right. Maybe I'll pull back a little bit. It says Barrington, Rhode Island here. Bike riding has always been a thing, and sailing is a really big thing. Barrington's right on the ocean. All the trees for the forests, trees that were in her yard, apparently. It's hopefully when I get this book together, you'll get beautiful, crisp. It says Barrington, Rhode Island on the bottom. This picture is reversed, but absolutely beautiful. So that's the story of this house with those parties. And I'm sure a lot more stories that I hope I can tap into. Let me do just a little bit more. I'm going to go tomorrow. I think this is probably going to end up being a 3-parter. I'm going to go to the Rug Cooking Magazine tomorrow. I'm just going to do foreshadowing here and tell you there's an article about her 50 state rugs that the 3 grandsons donated to the Shelburne Museum. This is September, October 2005, and it's an article about Molly. I'm going to tackle this tomorrow because I've got a lot more commentary to do before we even get here. But if you have this back issue, it's a good idea to take it out. It's like 6 pages and look at it because it's almost like reading along. Then you'll have a little bit of a leg up. But I'm going to show you all that stuff tomorrow. So I found some other stuff before the State Rugs exhibit at the Shelburne Museum in Vermont. There was a different exhibit that was called Carpe Diem, Molly Nye Tobey Designs for the Mid-Century Home. And this is the only photo. It's like a stock photo that's up there still. If you have a brochure of this exhibit, please let me know. I would love to have a copy of it. I will pay you for a copy of it. I would love to know which of the rugs were in it. This is like a brick sort of wall. This is one of her modernist rugs that was in that exhibit. So remember, these rugs are from this one. They don't know when she hooked it. It's called Red Brickwork, somewhere between 1930 and 1960. Like the other women that we talked about last week, she really started hooking when she had her first child, and it made sense, right? So the exhibit said, this is information. I'll give you in 1 minute. You can do it. This is information that's on the Shelburne website. It says, bringing together a selection of vibrant hooked rugs alongside preparatory watercolors, sketches, and other ephemera, Carpe Diem, Molly Nye Tobey, Mid-Century Home, spotlights the creative range of pioneering American designer and fiber artist Molly Nye Tobey, best known for her hooked historical tapestries of the United States. Those are the 50 state rugs that we'll talk about tomorrow. Unfortunately, this was in the Hat and Fragrance Textile Gallery at the Shelburne, and it opened on May 1st, 2017, and closed October the same year. Man, am I sorry I missed that. So we're right at the end of our time now. Tomorrow, I'm going to start by showing you a bunch of the rugs which have recently gone to auction, and they're gone. So there's photos of them. I'm in touch with the auction house there to try to get permission to use their photos in the future. But yeah, I would love to know where those rugs went to. I have another lead in Rhode Island, one town over in Warren. There's a guy there who does antiques and works at Browner. I guess he's long distance working there now. He's a lecturer. But he mentioned that he had one of her paintings and he still has it. So he's away this week, but he's going to send me info on that in a few days. He'll be back in a couple of days by now. And he also had some idea of where some of the rugs might have gotten to, because he knows a lot of the people that sell and flip and all that. So there's possibilities there, but he might be a good person too. He at least has one of her paintings and it's a still life that I would like to get. So there's always going to be more coming here. I'm going to start tomorrow by showing you the rugs, incredible rugs that went to auction a couple years ago. And then we'll talk about the 50 state rugs and look at this amazing article in Rug Cooking Magazine. It's my favorite article ever in Rug Cooking Magazine. And then I will show you my poster of the 50 rugs, and we will see if we have time tomorrow or the next day. We will make time for a Guess That State rug hooking challenge, because all 50 of the state rugs were hooked based on state's local history, agricultural history, economic situation, that kind of thing. They were all factors in choosing the design for the rug. She spent 2 years making these rugs and designing the rugs. She didn't make all of them in 2 years. Maybe she did. So we're going to do that tomorrow. That's where we're going to start tomorrow. So in the meantime, have a great day, and I will see you in the morning. Take care.